That's a good start to the stream, me coughing. We are back doing some more of what we have been doing, which is the tedious animation stuff. So, in the last stream earlier this week, what we did is we updated some of the combat animations here, and we also messed up some of the animations, which we'll at some point need to fix, but like the big motions of the animations are now in place, right? But that's only for the sword. And I have a scythe as well. And the scythe still sucks. Like, really badly. So, also, it doesn't have animation notifiers and stuff. We'll take care of that in a moment. It's actually kind of weird that it doesn't. It's something to look into. Either way, we're going to be fixing up those first two scythe animations and then maybe make one more new one. I think that's what we're going to be doing. And if we have any time left, we'll do some actual like coding as well to update some of the where are my animations at the top here, to update some of the like actual combat code as well, because there's a couple of things that we need to do there still. That might be a thing that we do next week instead. So for now we'll go into characters, level sequences, and then we have the scythe attack 1 and 2. This is gonna be quite something. At least we have less in the way of that event doesn't need to be there. Hold on, let me just remove that real quick. We have less in the way of like unnecessary keyframes, because we have like our starting pose, our swung back pose. I guess this pose doesn't really need to exist, to be honest with you. And maybe even this pose doesn't need to exist. Like, that actually kind of just works. We'll maybe need to do a little bit of curve editing there to really like get the swipe across. But that will work. Technically, maybe we could even get rid of this one and do it all the way through there with just one pose. Like, this is the end of the swing and this is the follow through, right? So that being separate poses to me kind of makes sense. And then this halfway, like in between, probably like doesn't need to have a keyframe as well. So this is going to make updating the animation a lot easier now, because we only have like 5 keyframes to work with. And most of the rest will be done with the curve editor. And just updating the poses in general. I'm going to update the timeline to 120 frames per second as well, because I actually find that that is pretty nice. So at 120 frames per second, our blend in time for most of these animations is about 1/10 of a second, right? Also, hello, welcome everybody joining in. I'm just getting started here right away because I do want to like get into being productive. So that's about 12 frames on this timeline. So this backward movement should probably be no longer than 15 frames, which makes it pretty fast. We can have a little bit of them like hanging back there. We'll do that with the curve editor in a moment. Then the actual swing should probably... I think the swing for the sword takes about half a second. So that will be about 60 frames. Let's set this to like 70 frames in length. So to frame 85. 88 works, that's fine. That's still a little on the slow side, I feel. So maybe just like go down to 60. I'm slowing down a little bit there is actually not too bad. So this is what we're going to be doing first, is we're just going to be having a little bit of fun just like moving these keyframes around and cleaning up the keyframes themselves to get like a slightly better timing on these attacks than they have right now. They should still be somewhat slower than the sword attacks, I should point out, because it's going to be doing more damage. They have a wider reach, obviously. It's a bigger weapon. I mean, look at that fucking hitbox on this thing. It's kind of insane. So there's a balance to that. So they don't need to be like as fast. They still need to feel satisfying though. But that is mostly a matter of probably like making these motions even bigger. That said, this motion is pretty big. The only issue is that maybe like we need him to be leaning forward a little bit more, not clipping through the floor, that kind of stuff. So with all that, let's now go into the animation montage, and let's just set our search to scythe. Apparently I misspelled scythe for the first one. What the fuck is going on? Attack 1. Sword scythe. Yeah, I didn't give that a C. There we go. Okay, so now we can look for the scythe attacks. There we go. I feel like it's still a little on the slow side, if I'm being real with you. But we can pull the end time to something like there, maybe. And let's just see what this feels like. One step at a time, right? Okay, there's a slight issue there. And that is that these animation notifies obviously need to like move to here-ish instead. Oh, my chat overlay. I always forget to re-enable that after recording videos. I probably should just make a separate scene for that, to be honest. And there's a damage box off. Okay, so that's not what I wanted to do. Try it again. That's an improvement. Like, again, the animation itself sucks. But the timing is a lot better already. So now we can start looking at the animation. But I want to do the other level sequence first. At least for the Scythe Attack 2. Scythe Attack 3 is actually going to get changed to being part of the proximity-based combat system, instead of being part of the regular combo. So I love the warp attack. The one from the sword, you mean? I do also love that one. It's, once again, an attack lifted straight from the Kingdom Hearts series. It's an attack from Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep that I kind of just like stole. I don't remember what Scythe Attack, just Scythe Attack is. Oh, it's the special attack, right? It's him doing that, and then yeah. I think the animation for that is mostly fine as is. Final Fantasy 15 also has that. Yeah, makes sense that that would also have an attack like that. It's really satisfying. I need to tweak the animation timings with like the new animations for it, because right now it's a little awkward. And also, it doesn't unpossess the camera, but I also need to just change the camera system for that in the first place, because the way I do it now is insane. The way it works right now is every enemy in the game just has a camera to it, which I like change the view position to the camera of the enemy that I'm attacking, instead of just making a new camera the moment I start that attack, which would make a lot more sense. But hey, the way I have it now works. And I will make it more optimized later. Let's see. Okay, so we do kind of have like a bit of an issue with this thing rolling over, which is probably why there's so goddamn many keyframes for this. But the end position is this one, so we're going to get rid of all these. I wish you could just like merge keyframes, right? Because if you... Oh, you can? Maybe? If I just put all of these on top of each other. At some point it starts complaining, right? Like they turn red and then it's like, hey, you've got multiple keyframes on top of each other. Yeah, like that. So now if I select these, it does delete them. It's kind of weird how it deals with all that. If I zoom in all the way to this, like if I move this, I don't know. I guess that this... Okay, so it maybe does override it. I guess this just means that we have... No, because these are also like that weird red color. I don't know, man. The way Final Fantasy, how it is when you're using it, it warps to the closest enemy. Yeah, the same in my game. Just it warps you to the enemy that you're currently targeting, and if you don't have an enemy like locked on, it just warps you to the enemy that's closest to you. But you can like at any point lock onto whatever. The way I like to think of it and the way I have it in my code is my lock-on system has like a soft lock-on, which is just whatever enemy is closest to you. You can press a button and turn that into a hard lock-on so that it doesn't then change your like targeted enemy, even if another enemy then like takes the place of being the closest to you. So whatever you're like locked onto, whether it be soft or hard locked on, is what you warp to in my game. So yeah, this animation is now fucked. Yeah, so I don't know what the fuck, like, any of this... Is there a way, actually? I have never looked at this. That's my dashboard. Is there a way in Unreal to Unreal sequencer remove duplicate keyframes or something like that? Remove overlapping. If I look at this in the sequencer, it's gonna look, yeah, so that's the issue, right? Is that it jumps from one thing to the next? Which I suppose inside of the sequencer, we can actually... We can remove these. I guess this is a way to do it. I'm not going to say that I like this way of doing it, but at least it's a way of doing it. So we're back to some sort of interpolation at least. I don't know if that's the pose that I wanted. I'm going to take care of the poses in a moment. Yeah, so these don't really matter. I guess we'll just go through all of these in this method. The location for this don't change. I just need these keyframes to be cleaned up a little bit. Oh, if it's stuck at animations in my game, same man. I don't like doing animations. I'm also just not good at animating, so... Like, I have the barest minimum skill in it. I made a couple of, like, basic animation videos. Like back in the day. Like a year or two ago at this point, I think. But I quickly steered clear of that because like I have no authority to talk about that at all. Not to say that I necessarily have like all the authority in the world to talk about other stuff. But I specifically don't have any place like recommending how people do animation. Like at all. I think if I go back here, yeah, so it still does show these red. Am I just misunderstanding what these red keyframes mean? Because there's no way in hell that maybe I missed, I don't know, a couple of keyframes there or something. If I go into full body. Oh yeah, so we do have a couple of overlapping ones still. Wait. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so can I just like remove overlapping, deleting keyframes from level sequencer, how to remove keyframes. Yeah, make it impossible to have multiple keyframes on the same frame. That is fucking... Like, why? I guess I just need to kind of like go through them one at a time here. To be fair, I got myself into this mess by just putting everything on top of each other. So it's kind of like my own bad that we have it this way. I guess what I can just do actually is I can just check, okay, this one, rotation yaw. So then I can go in here, rotation yaw, and then we have, and now that should be fixed, right? Yes, okay. At least like this is kind of good, but also kind of infuriating. These red keyframes do indicate multiple keyframes on top of each other, so it is aware. It just doesn't care. I suppose for this it doesn't really matter actually. We can just, like, we're not gonna animate the scale for these anyway. I've not had a chance to say thank you for your videos. You deserve more views. Thanks. Just watching and appreciating stuff is plenty of things. Always happy to be able to help out with shit for people. And the ad revenue doesn't hurt. Okay, so this one claims to have overlapping keyframes. So then when I go into here, is it this? Surely it's not that one, right? Or maybe it's because I box select. No. Oh, is it big? It's... Oh, it might be in the rotation. No. Oh, scale again. I don't care about scale. You know what, actually? We'll just do it like this. I don't care about scale to begin with, so we'll just... Oh! Oh, that's nice. Oh, yeah, that's much nicer, actually. Okay. That is... Because at this point, I think pretty much all of these have the same value anyway. Okay. I think that's fixed. The poses are insane, but that's something that we're going to fix now. You make all your animations inside Unreal Engine. Yes, I have been for the last little while. I think for the next character that I'm going to make, I have an idea for a character. That I think might be a good experiment to go back to animating them in Blender and then just exporting the animations into Unreal. But specifically for like my player character and like the boss characters, those characters also need to like be animated with specific animations in like cinematic scenes, like cutscenes. So for those, I need to make like a control rig within Unreal Engine anyway. So it seems kind of counterintuitive to then rig them up for the gameplay animations in Blender, animate them for their gameplay animations in Blender, and then make a separate rig in Unreal Engine, and then use that separate rig for all the cinematic animations. And doing all the cinematic animations as pre-baked animation sequences in Blender also is a hell, because I don't necessarily have the exact scenes with like the exact like locations and levels all in Blender. So I do that entirely in Unreal, so I might as well do the gameplay animations in Unreal as well, is my thinking anyway. But for some of the characters that only need gameplay animations and no like cinematic animations, I am seriously considering at least experimenting with Blender again. And the reason I moved entirely over to Unreal for a lot of this anyway is because there's some inconsistency sometimes between what you see in Blender and then exporting FBX and then importing it into Unreal. There's slight differences sometimes in how it bakes down the animations, which can be annoying. And this doesn't really have that issue when it's all in engine. But the character that I want to do next will probably have some like morphing in its animation as well, not just bone animation, but also like I think they're called morph targets in Blender and something else in Unreal. I don't know, just like morphing deformation. And I don't know if Unreal's like character rigging has support for that. I know you can bake it down in an animation in Blender. If you link it to like a bone. I assume Unreal has something like that as well, but I figure it's a good like opportunity to test that as well. Give it another shot, you know. Okay, so this pose is the worst. So that's not the handle that I wanted to. Shape key, that's the word, thank you. Shape keys. They might be morph targets. Like the morph targets in one, they're called shape keys, and the other I don't know which is which. But you're right. Shape keys is the word I was looking for. Okay. Then we have this, and yeah, this is going to be the tricky bit because I don't have a bone specifically to rotate only the weapon. I should have made that, but that's a little too late now. So I kind of need to like do a little like that. Yes, he's breaking his wrist there, I know. We'll worry about that later. Let's actually like animate these things in local space. So okay, now he's going through the floor. Obviously not what we want. Shape keys in Blender. Okay, yeah, true. I always have trouble like keeping up with this kind of shit. The most important thing I think is this controller here. And then we have the... I think it might be the roll. Let's see. Yeah, so if we animate that a little, something more like... I mean, you might need to, like, if we change the pitch and the yaw as well, maybe that'll do. Not really. It's probably good to play around with those a little bit, but I don't think they're going to make a significant impact on what we're doing right now. It's mostly we need to animate the roll for the other spine elements as well. Right? Okay, yeah. So that needs to look something like that. And it probably needs to be a lot more extreme in here as well. Like a lot more extreme. We'll get there eventually. Making animations is hard. Yeah, man. Making animations is a pain in the ass. But again, eventually we'll get there. Hopefully. It just needs to stand up a lot sooner. And then I think we also are just like ignoring one of these spine segments here. So that's definitely part of the issue. Okay, so yeah, I think at this point we probably have a pretty good like thing going for the spine as far as rotations go. You see how it's a little too fast, but you see how it's also just a lot smoother now that I'm using these curves with like overshoot and stuff like that, because we can actually like animate this on a curve instead of just having to guesstimate. Like this gives me a lot more information than working with the actual 3D handles, which is kind of funny. I guess in that regard, I do have a little bit of experience in animating, doing like motion graphics and stuff. So I'm used to working in curve editors, at least. But I think another important bit here is maybe making him not break his wrist as much. So if we go into here... Yeah, so if we pull up this a little more... He's still breaking his wrist. Kind of just par for the course with how we're doing this. This needs to lie a lot more flat as well. So you can do something like that. Okay, that is not ideal. Well, that's kind of what we're going for, isn't it? Well, yeah, that's actually that's kind of good. I think we're getting there. it's probably way too fast now. Yeah, it is way too fast, but the motion is a lot better already. And I think it's mostly this bit that's too fast. So let's make that like 65 frames or something like that. I mean, there's still room for improvement. But hey, we're only like half an hour in, so we also have a lot of time left for improvement. Anyway, how's everybody doing? Like, there's a lot more people like jumping in today than earlier this week, which is nice. How's everybody been doing? How's your projects going? How's your game development? Why is Scythe Attack 2 not in here as well? Because it doesn't have a C in it, because I am an idiot. There we go. Okay, so the ending here should be... Let's just keep it right about there for now. Then the animation notifies should definitely be moved over. One that can be on its own track, that's fine. Something like that. And let's see what that feels like. Okay, that's not great. But that's mostly an issue of blending out, which also has to do with, let's filter these on Scythe as well. So yeah, we don't use the blend out time anymore for like gameplay input anyway. So the blend out time can go down to like 0.1 second instead, which makes it a little less smooth. But I'm not looking for like smooth animation. I'm looking for snappy responsiveness. That is maybe a little too much now. So I think the issue with Scythe Attack 2, difficult to not break your tongue on that. I think the issue with Scythe Attack 2 is that it doesn't really yet, so it should probably like bend over back a little like this. And take a little bit more time to do that. Scythe Attack 2 is probably always going to look a little bit weird in it blending back just because of the like flipping over of the scythe that we have. And then that keyframe probably actually does want to be moved to like somewhere around here. Yeah, so that's still a little too snappy. That actually kind of works, not gonna lie. Okay. Now for Scythe Attack 2, we probably... Okay, we do need to make the end time later. Yeah, so it's also just not blending back here because of that. Why are you not updated? It's because it's still playing, probably. Let's close it out. Yeah, so now we have all that space to the right-hand side there on the timeline. We can pull this back quite a bit more. And then we can just play through here and say at about 66 to about 99. So the blend out time can be like 0.35 seconds, like very long for that one. There's still a little like snappiness to it, I think, but what is that snappiness actually? It's kind of weird. Let's pull this back a little bit just to see if it has anything to do with the animation. Huh, what is that? And why is it so jumpy? If we make this shorter, how does it deal with that? We make this a little shorter as well. How does it deal with that? Like, I don't know what the actual issue is, but if we can just avoid it instead of fixing it, I'm all about that. I think the timing is already a lot better for this now. Still needs a little work. But that's mostly because I don't have the like animation notifies implemented for it yet. I don't know what that little stutter is. It's probably something to do with the fact that like a lot of these joints are absolutely messed the fuck up. Or it is maybe just the fact that it has like one freeze frame of animation there. No work tomorrow, so I can probably develop a bit. It's rather drawing at the moment. I want a live interface with multiple widgets on top, so no Unreal 5, instead GIMP. Yeah. Remaking that stuff in GIMP. Makes sense. What the fuck is going on with my frame rate? So, yeah, what is that stutter? I feel like I like over-rotated something somewhere. And it's like doing 360 degrees of movement in like one frame. But it should do it still over the entire course of the animation, even if that is the case. Right? The only thing that realistically could be doing something weird should be the arm. And more specifically, the wrist. The fact that the entire body is doing weird stuff. The full body doesn't even... What even does full body animate? Like if I just take out this keyframe, nothing actually happens. I doubt that this is going to make a difference, but let's check. I don't know why it's so stuttery at the end. Unless the issue is that it rotates. No, but it's still... Okay, let's actually just use a different curve here. We wanted to... like exponential in. Maybe. Maybe what I wanted is exponential out. Still does the stutter. Let's set it to even shorter, like just like less than 1/10 of a second. I'm really confused as to what could be. Let's set the blend out time to fucking 0. And then just have this, like, that's not going to look good, I know, but... just to see if it's something to do with anything other than the animation blending itself. Yeah, no, okay, so it's actually something to do with the animation blending. Kind of figured. Maybe if you just end it a little shorter and make it blend out faster. I mean, that's not... I didn't actually look at what it looked like. It's 1, 2... Okay, now it's snappy and stuttery. What the fuck? A lot of character design looks like Kingdom Hearts 1 Heartless with Melucia Scythe. Both of those are accurate, yeah. That's kind of the idea. I gave the artist for the scythe, Malusha Scythe, as one of the inspirations, so that like they did a good job there. And the character is kind of a mixture between a Shadow Heartless and Hollow Knight. And that one I made myself. Which you can see because it's fairly simple. Okay, so what the actual fuck is going on here? Something is weird. Like, this needs to be about a quarter of a second. But the swing itself should be able to complete. So we're playing like a very fine... Even then it does the twitchy. Why does it do the twitchy? You know what? I've got an idea. No, that's not gonna... That doesn't actually change anything. So something over-rotates. Like, we have a keyframe here somewhere that's probably just like 360 degrees rotated. It's gotta be something in the spines, I think. So that's degrees, right? Yeah, so I can just check whether or not any of these go beyond 360. It doesn't look like they do at any point. Do they do in this pose, maybe? Maybe that's the issue? Everything here seems like it's checking out. Our full body we just removed altogether, so that can't be the issue either. I'm so confused. What could be causing this? Because this is just like a good movement. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put this keyframe off to there, and then we're gonna put this keyframe just there. See whether or not it has to do with the last keyframe or maybe something weird to do with this keyframe. Just troubleshooting, just trying to find the... Okay, so it still does it with the same keyframe planted in there twice. So logically then it is something about how this guy is posed in this one, but that doesn't make any goddamn sense either. I feel like we shouldn't like linger on this too long. Does the first one do it too? They all do it. Hold on, they all do it. Oh, I know what's happening. It's nothing to... Okay. It's nothing to do with the animation blending itself. What's happening is... probably an easy fix. So what's happening is, because my guy has velocity, because he's moving, the blend space for his motion, for his idle movement here, I don't know why I use a two-dimensional blend space, but his idle movement here is getting velocity, meaning that we are cutting from this back to this pretty quickly. And that's the stutter that we're seeing, I think. So if we just like blend by bool, And this is if we are not attacking, we can get our third-person character hashtag make tag. No. Actually, I think we need to check it on the ability, get ability system components. And then we can check tags. Has component hashtag. No. There's a different function for that. Evaluate attribute value with tags. Get gameplay tag. Has own gameplay tags. Has any matching gameplay tags. That's it. So then we can make literal container and we can just add in a tag. It's given a warning. Potentially unsafe threat. Yeah, I don't really care. Okay, that's not actually fixing it. Can I just like get iframes actually? I can. I think, oh no, I don't think I can do that either. We can try, but I don't think that's gonna work either. Yeah, okay, this might be a little bit more tricky than I thought. The good thing is that it is a pretty fundamental issue. So we don't need to fix it in the animation. We just need to fix something about this code. So yeah, the iframes doesn't really work. I guess get character movement, and from there we can get mode, and we can check whether that is equal to make literal by movement mode byte to e movement mode. I think that's fuck. Yeah, this doesn't have an execution pin though. But we can literal enum e movement mode. Oh, that's it. That's okay. This will do it, right? 2 bytes. I just want to check whether or not he is flying. What is this? This is not working, is what it is. Why does that not... I guess we can try and make literal byte out of these both and then compare those, right? So, okay, when he's flying, we want this to just be the... Okay, so we want to have this the other way around, right? So when flying is... No, we don't. So when flying is... No, we do. So when you're not flying, we want the blend space. When you are flying, we want just the idle animation. And I think that should work. But it probably won't. Yep, that's a lot smoother. Okay, now it's smooth for this as well. It's fucking not! Okay, that is because... That makes sense. Hold on, I think if we just add in the... We're getting there. I think if we just add in the... animation notifies here. Add notify, there we go. So like one of these, player end attack, there we go. We add in that there, and then we want to have that one like, I don't know, here-ish. That's not what I wanted to do. I like the tempo of that, to be honest, so far. And if you're just walking already, you don't get that stutter either. It's only when you're standing still that you get a little bit of that stutter. Which is why I haven't seen it up until now, because that doesn't happen that much. So I guess what we do is... It's a very fucking good question. How do we fix that? I'm guessing the best way to tackle this is actually to set this velocity value in a slightly more complicated way than just getting the velocity's length. Like that. But also like taking into account some other stuff. Like maybe doing it based on input. We could do that, I guess. But for now, I don't think it matters that much. But it is something that we're going to need to circle back around to fix at some point. For now, I think what we want to do is we want to like pull this back a little bit. And I also think we need to set one more thing up. Because as you can see in the sword attack, our trail here has like a pretty good thing going for it, right? But that weapon trail doesn't look that good in this. Well, for the circular one it does, but still it could be a little bit better. And that is partly because of the orientation of the weapon, but also I think partly because it just needs to like have a longer lifetime. So we need to set that up at some point as well. where we can say on a per attack basis how like long or how like how long the lifetime should be for the like particle ribbon particle that comes out of it. So we have final control on a per attack basis. Again, not something that we necessarily want to look at right now. I'm going to touch up Scythe attack 1 before we start making an entirely new attack, I think. Because this part is pretty good. It's mostly like this that we need to take a look at. So let's do that. Let's take a look at the rotation for all this first. So this is going through the floor, right? And that is mostly an issue to do with this. But also, actually, it is even more so probably an issue to do with this one. It's not actually this axis that's doing a lot of that. I think it is the... Yeah, it's that one. So let's take a look at other direction. Want to do something... Maybe not. Maybe it is this. Always freaks me the fuck out. Okay, we should pull this down, and then this one also, no, this one then up. I don't quite understand the logic behind how this moves. All I want is like that, and then that. Pretty much. Right, okay, so we move that one up a lot, and we move that one up a lot as well. That's the idea. Okay, we can try that. I'm not sure how that makes sense, but we will give it a shot. I think we just need to move them up a lot more. I don't know that this is really what we want to be doing. We're getting somewhere. Hold on, we're getting somewhere. I don't know if we're getting anywhere good, but we're getting somewhere. That might be something. That might be something. Oh, just about above the ground. Just about above the ground. But that is a matter of like pulling this up, right? And maybe even putting that up a little like that. That's an improvement. His wrist probably looked like ass, but okay, so now that we actually have this fixed up as well, we do want this to be longer and this to be back to like maybe even 0.4, to be honest with you. This all the way at the end. Okay. That's a pretty good improvement so far. I'm actually very happy with the progress that we've made in the last hour or so compared to how rough these things were going with the sword animations in the stream earlier this week. All that's to say, we definitely do need to now start making the actual next animation at some point as well. So let's actually procrastinate a little bit and make the motion for this even bigger. And obviously, like, his hips and stuff are like barely moving. And maybe actually we do want to move you just in world space for this. And his feet aren't really doing anything at all. His knees not even moving. There's a lot of stuff that we could be doing to improve this animation. And I will try to do those things. Like not having his knee bent backward. That would be a good start. Yeah, next pose would then be... I don't want to stretch out the legs all the way though. And in the recentering, we can get the legs back down. Probably even like pull this back a little as well. And then get the knees facing a little more forward again. You know what? You fucking know what? What I'm gonna do? Gonna pull this leg. I don't know what I'm gonna do with that leg, to be honest with you, actually, now that I think about it. Um, a little bit more like that. And then it's really kind of hard to see how his leg is actually moving because there's like... I complained about this before, but there's no actual definition in these legs. But there as well, I feel like just having a bigger movement is going to be beneficial. Like, it really feels like he's throwing out his leg a little bit more now. Which actually feels like he's doing something with it, right? Yeah, like that. Maybe you don't have this playing on repeat. I don't know how that's going to affect anything. Okay, the 0.4 seconds of blending is a little much there. Which animation am I even working on? Scythe Attack 1. Okay. Is there anything in particular that we want to like improve on the animation here? I feel maybe we can do that. Oh my god, now it's got 2 keyframes there for this. This is why I hate this shit. um, I actually think that this animation is pretty much good to go for now. Animations in general are going to continue being something that I just like slowly improve over time. Yeah, this definitely like this needs to have some forward movement as well here. Without a shadow of a doubt. So let's see if we can make that work. Spine location. That's not doing anything. Okay, so it's this. So this should probably be doing something along those lines, right? I dare say maybe even fucking more. Something all the way. So okay, the issue here is that we're also working with this rotation. um, I guess we just need to do that for all 3 axes then. So it needs to move forward, forward, forward. And then also in the X location, we also want this to move forward, I guess. That doesn't really seem to do anything. Unless I just need to absolutely crank the value on this. Yeah, I think that's what I need to do. Like, at least he's like moving his hips a little bit more now. If we also start incorporating some stuff with his legs, right? So we have this. First and foremost, both of these knees are going to need to... Holy fuck, what the hell even is that? Oh, it's because they're both in local space, probably. Yeah, so these both need to be moving in that direction. This one a little bit back as well. And I think... this one needs to be a way more of an arc. Currently following your C++ course, trying to make my own game alongside yours. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Always good to hear people people working alongside me, and hopefully finishing their shit before I finish my shit. Because I'm never gonna fucking finish this thing. Because I way overscope everything I do. It's just kind of like how I deal, apparently. Wait, what? Axes am I... I was so confused by what axis actually is like what direction. Because none of this makes sense, right? When I do this, Like moving it forward in what is the green arrow here, apparently, it's something to do with the rotation, surely. But it's apparently like pulling this thing down like an insane amount. That does what I needed to do for some reason. I feel like this also probably could do with a little more. Like when we're here, we probably can do a little, just a little more of that, maybe. But a little more of that. And then having this work a little like that, maybe. Yeah, and then we want this to fucking want him to go down through his knees afterwards as well a little bit, which is not this axis, of course it's not. I'm guessing it's this one. So we have... Okay, maybe a little much. Maybe that was a bit much. Maybe something like this is plenty. After video in course 16, do you have a path that I can follow next? Once you think you feel comfortable with coding in general, a lot of my stuff is blueprint based. Like a lot of my videos are, because in general I feel like people who understand C++ well enough can probably look at a blueprint video and replicate that in C++, because it's literally just the names of the nodes are oftentimes just the names of the functions. Sometimes you need to include like a header file in order to get access to them or something like that though. But I think for something that improves your programming and like a lot of like the structural stuff, and maybe don't try to like replicate it in C++ necessarily, but the inventory course is a pretty good one to do that, I feel. It's also about like 3 hours long, I think, in total. Similar to the C++ course. But that specifically goes over like actually using all that stuff to like make a system and like create a component with a bunch of functions on it that you can then use. And like once you have all those functions in place, you can kind of start to see how like these things click together and start like making a system that is very easy to use once you get into like the designing phase of things. So I personally really like it, and that's also part of the reason why I'm expanding on it. Like I'm working on a follow-up on the inventory course to like add some more features to it and that kind of stuff. Because a lot of people liked it, and I also like it because I think it's actually a pretty good example of like actual implementation of code instead of more like nebulous, abstract. Like this exists, and we have like a small example here. It's a more, we're trying to work towards something, and in the course of doing so, you learn a lot more about like structuring your code. Any chance you're gonna do C++ animation blueprints? Very unlikely. Because for the most part, I don't think that you should be doing that in C++. There's some scenarios where it makes sense, like setting up a couple of functions that you can then use in like multiple different animation blueprints. But like doing all of the actual like logic for your animation graph, it's just about setting up values for your animation graph to use. And the animation graph itself, I feel like you should use the blueprint for that, and not like force yourself to do that all through C++. Like, take advantage of the things that are good for blueprint, and take advantage of the things that C++ are good at. It's one of those things where, like, if you're using Unreal Engine and you're using only Blueprint or you're using only C++, in my view, you're doing it wrong. In the end, you need to do whatever you're most comfortable with, of course. But like this engine works best when you use both in the scenarios where they make most sense. So that's why. I might at some point redo the inventory course specifically for like C++. That could be interesting. I'll have to think about it. I'll have to like engage whether or not there's like actual actual desire for me to make the same content, just like writing it out instead of like connecting nodes together. Because again, I feel like if you're using C++, there's a little bit of Googling involved sometimes to say, hey, what header file do I need to get access to this specific function? But once you have that, it's all effectively the same anyway. So there's no real use, I don't think, in remaking blueprint tutorials for C++. I had this plan a while ago where I wanted to start doing all my tutorials in two versions, a blueprint version and a C++ version. I recorded a couple of them, and I figured that, you know, I don't think there's like a lot of value in doing that. The only value that there might be in doing that is for people who are moving from Blueprint to C++, or like the handful of people that might be doing it the other way around, to be able to like put them next to each other to compare. But I feel like doing that for every tutorial that I make isn't the way to do it. If I'm gonna do that, I should probably like make a separate video or a separate video series wherein I make everything in Blueprint and then in C++ for that comparison's sake, so that it's like all located in one spot with like one purpose, and I'm not like wasting a lot of time making the same content twice, right? But those animations seem pretty good at this point, so let's make the third animation. We'll call this Scythe Attack, like Finisher or something like that. So pretty much like this pose we still maintain, I think. Oh, we'll change it a little bit. Probably actually do it a little bit more like this. And not have the somebody do be texting me. Oh, it's a scam. Okay. Cool. Always nice to get texts from people who want to steal your money. Good fucking luck stealing my money. I don't have any, so that's nice. I don't think we actually need to wind up backwards as much for this one. So let's see, we just need to... What we're going to do for this attack, by the way, I don't think I've said it yet, is we're going to do an attack where he, like, jumps up and, like, does a rotation, like a flip. So we can make him go, like, down a lot more as well. And then I feel like everything after that we just need to reanimate to begin with. So just get rid of everything there. And then... Do we have... We do... Okay, so what we're going to do, I think, is I'm going to make one keyframe here where he's at minus 180. So we'll do a pose of him mid-flip. And then we'll sort the timing out later. We'll do a pose of him... I don't know how that's going to blend. I'm going to be real with you. I don't think... I don't... Is it going to do like a very weird blending because it's technically like minus 360 is an entire rotation from 0, or is it intelligent enough to like just blend to the nearest side? I don't know. Is gas a good system to invest? Kind of depends on the game you want to make or the games you want to make. In general, I would say it's worth learning how to work with it. Okay, so when we are at this point, what I want to do is... Here we get into the issue again where... Okay, so maybe what we actually want to do... is rotate this a little bit this direction as well. So what does that look like? And then this in that direction, maybe? Like, do I have double keyframes, don't I? Fucking... Yes, I do. Okay, so what does that look like? Goes that way. With a little curvature work, I think that might work. Okay, so with this, the basic idea would be that he has his scythe. Good question. How are we going to do this? Didn't really think this through, I'm going to be real with you. Okay, so actually what we're going to do is we do want to wind up this scythe as well. The movement should like be led by the movement of the scythe, I feel. And we're once again fucking things up, because why not? I9. I9 indeed. And then at the end here, we're slowly constructing these poses. I am saying that to give myself a little bit of an out if this doesn't look good. But then, of course, we can also, like, if we do a little bit of this, we also have some room here to do that, right? Doesn't feel like he's striking at anything, though. Does it? That is because I think what we should do is okay, I think what we should do is we should have him strike, and then only in the upward movement of the weapon should he himself be jumping. So we should do like the full body here. Should be moved around a little. So we do that. Quick question. I'm trying to make a game right now. How do I decide when to blueprint something? Coding it. I do have a video about that very thing coming up at some point in the near future. Because it is an important question. By and large, the way I like to think about that is C++ is for programming and Blueprint is good for scripting. Which is to say, anything that is systematic code, you set up in C++, and then final implementations of that you do in Blueprint. It's the basic idea. So the example that I give in the video that I've been working on is for the other project that I did on stream last month. It's like I have this entire save system, right? And that save system has a bunch of code and a bunch of things happening in it with a bunch of sub functions and all that kind of good stuff. And all that happens in C++ because there's like just a lot of functionality there that it is just like executing like code and logic and that kind of stuff. That is then exposed as one full function to Blueprint for me, like at design time, or if you have a team for a designer, to just have to call only save game. And then the C++ code does everything in the background. All that you need access to in Blueprint is just one node that saves the game and one node that loads the game. You don't need to worry about everything else there. So then in Blueprint, when you like work in your menus, you have a widget, you have one button that save game, just one button clicked, run that save game function. And there's a bunch of other examples that you like could go over. This project is kind of poorly set up to like show examples for it. But for instance, let me think if I have anything in this project specifically that I can give a good example with. I would assume something in like the yeah, so a little other example here is I have a set time dilation function, which just sets the current time dilation for this actor to whatever I pass in. And then I have a reset time dilation function as well, which does the same thing, and it just calls the get time dilation. And I use that in a gameplay ability somewhere. So I set up those functions in C++. And they're very simple functions in this case. For the most part, generally, the functions that you're going to be dealing with have a little bit more body to them than just like one line of code. But sometimes it is just that simple. But in my like attack blueprints here that I have with the gameplay ability system, it calls that some fucking place. So yeah, when I hit an enemy, it like does something and it does something and it does something, blah blah blah. It sets the time dilation here at some point. Let me see. Damage the player. Oh, I don't end up using set time dilation here for that. I just do it directly. So I probably should be using the set time dilation function there to be fair with you. But then later on, I run the reset time dilation, and it just takes in like a time until reset. This is just one simple node. I don't have to worry about like setting up the timer and all that kind of stuff in the blueprint. It's just like the C++ handles that for me. That said, this is a bit of a meh example because generally speaking, I actually do like blueprint for things that are timing related because this is kind of like a messy way of doing it, as in like setting up this like timer and a delegate, and it's just in blueprint it's just a delay node and you're done. But I hope that it still gets the general point across. Okay, so we do that. And then at this point, I think what I want to do is I want to have you already pulling back a little bit more. Like that, right? So we do that, and then, yeah. And then during the flip, instead of moving through more, because we don't need to do that, we actually instead... Where's even the front of your face? There we go. We start instead to maybe, like, twist things back a little bit already, right? So we start to do that and then relax the arm a little bit more. So this starts to, like, move back a little. It's kind of difficult to select the right fucking thing sometimes. I think this is working. That's actually fine to also do that, I think. I don't know why I have such a love for animating flips, because they are actually hellish to animate. Oh, that looks horrible. Because I don't pull this back enough, I think. I might just actually like do it all the way to the back here and then move those keyframes over to the end there. And there also should just be more movement to do themselves. And maybe actually it's a good idea to get rid of this bit of him. Because that also doesn't really work that well. So let's A little bit more like that. I think that's a good start. We need more overshoot for the scythe. The scythe just kind of suddenly stops moving. But we can take care of that. And then I think what... Okay, so I think what we actually need to do is we need to start, like hollowing out his back. I don't know if that's the right way to say that. That sounds maybe like something you find on a different website. Even to the point where, like, his head... Oh yeah, and then his feet definitely need to... like, stick out a lot more. And maybe even, like, move back ever so slightly. And before we do the actual jump... Oh, hold on, am I now... Yes, okay, before we do the actual jumping bit, we also definitely want these... Don't know. Just don't know. Where even is this foot? How even does that work? Answer, it doesn't really. There needs to be a little bit more of a feeling of generating lifts, and I think that the way that we do that is... actually going to be not too difficult. It's just a matter of animating the location of this thing much more sharply. Hello. There we go. That's the opposite of sharply, actually. Right. We want this to effectively just be... No. Oh, that's... We want it to be a peak. Effectively, I think. So we... Bam and... Bam. And then these two, of course, also need to kind of follow that same trend. So new to Unreal, with what you're doing right now, are you creating animations from a character mesh? Obviously has a rig and all that. Yeah, so this is a control rig. Yeah, you can like rig up your characters with a control rig, which can be used for both animations like this, or also for real-time, like IK stuff. Wait, do these things not have a keyframe for what the fuck? Okay, no, actually that makes sense. I'm just losing my cool. No, that doesn't make sense. Okay, hold on. Yeah, that's what I wanted. So these also need to like very sharply. It doesn't feel good to make something that like curves down like this. But it's kind of what we need to do. So it is what we will do. Fuck you. That's not what I wanted to do at all. I wanted to break tangents. That's what I wanted to do. And the same thing for this. Very sharp fall off. Right leg control, and we kind of do the same thing, honestly. And hopefully that won't look like shit. It probably will. Well, we might actually be kind of good. Don't do that too much now. That's actually just pretty much good to go. Hmm. I mean, obviously, that's not the end pose. I don't know if I need to point that out, but I feel like that should be obvious. We also have this thing where, like, these legs. Specifically, like, this knee, maybe also. This doesn't feel like it's going to be generating too much lift. So maybe this is just down too low a little bit. And maybe like, this would work a little bit better. It's also a matter of it just being too slow, right? Like this part probably should not be taking like 45 frames. And there's also something where like the fluidity of him taking off is a little off. The actual flip itself definitely should also just be faster. No, that's too fast, actually. Well, the upward, maybe, but the downward... you see, I kind of suck at this. Feels too much like there's like actually a moment of liftoff. Wait, the full body... What the fuck does the... Oh, the full... Never mind. I'm again just losing my mind. I think maybe a little bit more like this. That does feel more like a good flip. Or maybe it needs to be the other way around. Maybe it needs to be more... not the thing that I want to animate. What the fuck? I guess the reason there's too much of a moment of liftoff here is because of that. I read somewhere Unreal had a flipbook functionality. Maybe you should read one of those. It does have a flipbook functionality, yeah. That is true. It's definitely making me flip my books. Try that for fucking free. What even does this full body, like, what even is this keyframe? No, please do explain the joke. That always makes it funnier. Oh, wait, hold on. Was I just looking at the wrong... I might have just been looking at the wrong thing. Okay, so I think part of the issue also is that this thing should be moving a little bit more backward in its flip, right? Yes. I do wonder, like, what does... Like, this doesn't actually, like, seem to do literally anything, so... Should I care? You know, since you're making flip books, really funny. Yeah, it's the best. Okay, so it is actually this curve that I was working with. Just make it even... Like, this is kind of how a flip should work, right? Ooh, that's too steep. But this does feel better. Still feels like there's a little bit too much of a... Honestly, that is probably just... Like... Well, we can't do that, can we? Because now that is going to... Yeah, we definitely cannot do that. How about this? How about we do that, and then we make this a lot more relaxed. You know what might be the issue? I actually don't know. There's too much of a delay between the scythe swinging through and the start of the jump. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. Like, the jump should probably, like, start here-ish. Or the scythe shouldn't be fully swung through yet, more like. So what I actually should do is... Like, on this frame, I should pull the scythe back a little more. Which fucking... Where's the wrist controller? I think it's this one. Yeah, it's that one. Okay. And then on, like, this frame is where he's like fully swung through. And then we can actually also make the swing through a lot more extreme, I think. Well, not so extreme that it goes through his fucking head. It's really disorientating because he's upside down now. Hold on, which fucking is this? Oh, that's the... Yeah, so this should be fully extended, this one, at this point, I think, right? God damn it. Yeah, so that should be fully extended. I have no idea. It feels like there's a lot of twisting going on there, but we'll see if there's any remarkable issues. Okay, so there we go. I think that's now untwisted. Should be a little bit more twisted though. Okay, what even is going on with this side? I think I am maybe like messing this up a little bit. Did he do a double backflip now? What the fuck is going on? Oh, no, he isn't. Okay, never mind. Even with that, I think they're also like the moment of takeoff is just at this point is also too fast. Maybe that is like this is too fast. Like that needs to go back to like 120 or something like that. It still feels like there is like a rocket coming out of his ass though. And that I don't think it is too fast. I don't know that it needs to start earlier, but I think it is too fast. That's full body, right? Yeah, that's in the full body. So I do think that we want to like get this one and make it a little less steep. Slightly more closer to linear. That feels more natural. Of course, the second part of the flip itself also is too fast still. Like that can go to like frame 210 or something like that maybe. Okay, that's a little too slow. It was at 180 before or something, right? Let's pull this back to like 114 and pull this back to there-ish. This is why I like the 120 frame per second timelines, because you can really dial in your timings. And then we, of course, have a pose where he... Like, when he lands, he should not have his back all the way fucking dead. And his feet should be not through the ground. And obviously we need to do a little curve stuff there as well, but... Okay, he's still coming down a bit fast, isn't he? Don't you love animation? I certainly do. Not. I can also work around uh with the gravity for like the full body thing here, right? So we have this. Like that can probably be a little bit more. Okay, hold on. This doesn't feel like... Okay, that's what we were doing, yeah. We weren't finished with the scythe yet. I remember now. So right here is where we have this thing effectively like fully extended, right? So that's the other way. It's actually, yeah, so it's, we're actually doing it like this, I think. And then where the fuck is my, oh, that is that? Yeah, that is my wrist. So which one? Fuck, I'm not on the right frame. Luckily that is pretty easy to change up. Oh, hold on. Oh, wrong frame. I moved into the wrong frame. That actually is probably a good way of doing it, though. Is just animating it down there and then... Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Hold on. Because we don't really care about movement at this point. I just want to get the pose right. To be fair, it's probably not a bad idea to like have this be a little bit more extreme as well. Then have a little bit of extra rotation in the two. So we can delete those two, move these over. Move these over. And then I think from there on, we start looking into the curves for the other arm. For this arm. Yeah, there we go. So like this is pretty good, but then I think, hold on. I think what we want for this is maybe to have like this happen a bit sooner and maybe like even have a bit of overshoot in there already. Right, so we have a little bit of all that. We're getting somewhere. We're starting to see an animation coming together. It's just now this portion is a little too slow, but if we just like take 15 frames off of that or something. Okay, yeah. Progress is being made. Slow progress is still progress, okay? So yeah, then at this point, the only thing really to go through is that I think we do want you to like rotate through the entire way here. But start relaxing your arm a little bit again, because holy hell, this must be uncomfortable for you. And then at like 210 or something. You know what, let's just put a keyframe here altogether. And okay, what does this do? Yeah, I was kind of afraid of that much. Again, I don't know how this is going to deal with blending. That's something that kind of worries me. But we'll figure that out in a moment. So we'll take like the full body keyframe as a whole, actually just remove that. Turn that back forward as well. And in the meantime, he's probably also actually bent forward through the flip. I have no idea how acrobatics work. Can you tell? But I feel like you would probably like hollow your back and then probably only at the very end there where he starts landing. Yeah, so for like the spine here, for that rotation that we just added, I think probably like this. Yeah, so that nice idea, but only like oh no, no, hold on, that actually does make sense. Only like um at the very end here, something like that, right? And do we have overshoot for this? Is that how we do that? That feels like a pretty good landing, not gonna lie. I like that. Still doesn't feel fully like a backswing like slice. But again, keep in mind that I'm not an animator. So for something that is like actually remarkably complex as far as body mechanics go, I think that this is pretty like decently done. Like without patting myself too much on the back, of course, but I kind of like this. So let's try to See if we can make the slice feel a little sliceier still. And that's mostly a arm thing. And I think we started doing that and then just didn't finish it because I got distracted. It's the fucking story of my life. Oh, hold on. So the slice here is, yeah, so I think what we want to do is we want to just like make this a lot steeper. And pretty much all... Ooh, that's the spine. That's the wrong bone. It's not the bone I wanted to change. I wanted to change this bone? No. This bone. Yeah, so I wanted to make this a little bit steeper. Seemingly already have done something like that though. But I think I might just need to make it more extreme. It does feel like a slice now. I think we have gotten to a point where this is a workable animation. Is it a good animation? I'll leave that up to you. Is it a perfect animation? Definitely not. But I think it's good enough for us to, like, play around. Yeah, I like it. Well, no, I don't. I don't like it. I accept it. Let's make a linked animation sequence and then find where the fuck I'm supposed to put those again. Animations, characters, player, animation sequences. And this will then be the scythe attack finisher. Export animation sequence, that's all well and good. Then we look for scythe attack finisher here. I like the way he swings with his foot behind. Yeah, like animating the feet to go with the rest of the body movement is the thing that mostly throws me. So I'm happy that you like that. Anyway, we create an animation montage of that. And we put that in animation montages. I said animation montages. Move that over there. And then I guess we start like blending back out at this point-ish. That's 137 to... That's about 0.4 seconds. It's okay if this takes a little longer than the average normal attack to reset. Because it is a combo finisher, right? Flip itself looks a little static and still. Maybe have the first third of the rotation a little faster, slow down. Yeah, it definitely feels like gravity is not quite gravitying. But I also kind of got to figure out how this feels in context of gameplay. Like, this kind of thing is also important to keep in mind when, like, we're making a game, right? We're not making a movie, so I also don't want to like just spend too much time only in this timeline and then like after 3 hours open it up in the game. But you're probably right that there needs to be like a little bit more like what we probably need is like this part to be slightly faster and then this part to slow down a little bit. At least as far as like the gravity goes. I think the flip itself is probably good. I think the only thing that we really like need to take into account, and I can do that much now, I suppose, now that I'm talking about it anyway. So what we probably want to do is like increase this a little bit. But that then does also get into the issue that we had before. Well, we don't want this to be like too steep. But I do think like making this hang time a little bit longer is probably like that makes it feel a lot more dynamic already. It's actually less realistic. But again, we're not making like a photorealistic movie here, so that's probably fine. Scythe attack finisher. I don't know why I keep putting... Okay, let's put the damage box on here. I don't know why in the world I keep... putting these animation notifiers in the sequences and then the other one in the montage. Seems like a bad idea, to be honest with you, but what are you going to do? And then we turn it off here. And then we already have that one. Okay, so now it should be as easy as going into my blueprints. Scythe attack 3 and change this to finisher montage. Let's check this out. The fuck was that? Okay, there's a couple of things that we maybe need to take a look at. Number one is Scythe attack 3. Forward movement. Oh, that's... Oh. Okay, oh yeah, max attack range here should be lower. That's the thing. Why was that even... I don't know. Okay, and then I think what is happening is that this is just too long. So the blending should just be shorter here. Yeah, you see, in actual gameplay, the fact that he's hanging so long looks worse. It's also a matter of scale. It's also a matter of scale, definitely. But I think, like in the actual gameplay, we definitely want to like pull these back a little bit more. Matter of fact, we might even want to like do something a little like this. Oh, no. Maybe, actually, the issue is mostly that this just needs to move a little left. just in general be faster. And then go back into the curves. Keep working on stuff. Because that is now fucked, yes. That should still be a curve and not a drop-off. Still feels a little droppy. So maybe what we do is... this? That kind of seems like what we want to do, doesn't it? Maybe that is. Let's give that a test. I'm not entirely sure what's happening. Like, the forward movement there definitely is kind of fucked. Which is part of the issue. Let's go... gameplay abilities... I want sword attack 5. Yeah, this one doesn't do that. So for sword attack 5, do we also have that forward movement? I don't think we have forward movement for sword attack 5, right? 1, 2... Yeah, we don't. Why does sword attack 5 not generate forward movement? But scythe attack 3 does. That is weird. Like, what is different between these two? Well, aside the fact from, like, the damage being different, of course. Oh, I know what's different between the two of them. That makes sense, but... yeah, so... yeah, okay. That does make sense. So the issue is that I just, in the other animation, just don't use the combat pulse at all. So just need to turn that off. Don't know if that's going to make it look a little better, but gonna fix that issue anyway. Ooh, yeah, no. Okay, but I think, like, this is fixable by just, like, taking this value and just saying, hey, instead of, like, twice your size, you're gonna jump, like, 4 times your size. This looks very, very big. Do keep in mind that everything is, like, scaled down when we actually get to this, so this probably... like, that does look, like, instantly a lot better, right? I'm still not entirely happy with the way... but we'll add some more particle effects that make this look better. I'm not entirely happy with the way, like, the weapon trail looks for these ones. Specifically that one, right? But that also maybe can be slightly improved by only making like the upward movement have the trail. I think that does improve things. Definitely, like its trajectory for the weapon can use a little more work. Like what I'm thinking right now is probably um make this a little without clipping through the floor if possible. A little bit more something like this. And then we're gonna do some curving again because that's how my life is. um So yeah, the curve for this we can't actually do too much with. Or we can do a bit. We'll make it a little bit steeper there. And this curve specifically we can do a lot more with, I think. Yeah. And then if we can make it like light, let's a little bit more here maybe. With this one. Pull this back a fair bit. Actually, I have an idea. Part of it might be if we have this. Yes, 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 yes. This one. So if we have this one like start its movement earlier. It's not that much movement actually. That is the one that, yeah, but we just need to do it for all of them. Okay. Yeah, no need for curvy girlfriends if you have curvy this. Yeah, so that's the idea, right? So if we can take this and make it feel like it's a little bit more of like a recentering move going on there. I think that will do a lot of good. Then going back to this again, try to make sure that this is maybe even lagging behind a little bit. And now we just need to make sure that this thing fucking feels like it's lying flat again, because that's the bane of my existence. is this what we want? Maybe this is what we want. I should just have a separate bone for the... Yeah, I don't think this is what we want. Maybe it is what we want. If not lying flat, it should be at least like pointing down. So... like that. So that is okay. Pulling that up a lot. I think we needed to pull this up as well to get that done. Right. Oh, hold on. I'm doing this between the wrong fucking keyframes, aren't I? No, I don't think I was actually. Hmm. Was I? Fucking might have been. But I do feel like I have slightly more of a control over what I'm doing now, so... Operative word being slightly. So I think I actually want to be working with these handles more than anything. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. My hand's starting to cramp up a little bit from using my mouse. I want this to be as low as it can possibly get the entire way through, pretty much, right? But that's kind of tricky. Due to how all this works with the local space. And me only having 2 tangents. But I do have 3 bones, so I probably should take advantage of that a little bit more. Like if we do that a little more, I don't think that's going to matter too much. And we do this a little bit more as well. We play into that. I think we might be... getting to something workable, maybe. Possibly, if we have luck. These keyframes don't seem to do that much at the moment. This one probably does. Yes, okay. So if I try to like make this do that, that's kind of the scoop that I'm looking for. Like it's, again, it seems like he's taking off too fast, but in actual gameplay, this seems to work pretty well, so... Maybe tone it down a little bit. Let's give this a shot. How is that worse? What the fuck happened to make that so much worse? Am I going insane? Like specifically... Like the latter half of that seemed like it was worse, but I only changed keyframes in the start. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm probably just psyching myself out too much. I'm being 100% real with you. Let's try to retime some of these things a little bit, because I think this can probably do with being like 20 frames long instead. And then let's see. In here we have like the blend out shouldn't start until like 127. Yeah, so a blend out time definitely, like, it's not blending out too fast. Like that's 100% not the issue. It's moving over too much to the like character left during the swing itself. Like this should be like it should be more straight in front of his face, I feel. Or at least like up until here. Maybe it should be a little bit more. I don't know. I feel like we're also getting to a point where I probably should just call it a day for animation, because I'm at this point like messing up my ability to judge what I'm looking at as well. I feel like that might be better, but I honestly like don't know. I think that's better. I also think that I'll just need to look at this more tomorrow. But we probably like want to have the damage box on only from here. think that also will... no. Definitely do want that a little earlier. I also want the trail to be longer for this attack. I need to add in the extra particle effects. I need to make those particle effects first before I can add them in, obviously. So there's quite a lot going on that still needs to be added to these attacks to make them work, I feel. But for now, we've got 1, 2, 3. Like, it is a little bit more boring as far as like the rhythm goes compared to the sword. Like, I still think that the sword, without a doubt, is more satisfying to use. And it doesn't make a lot of sense that he can jump in midair, but we're just kind of gonna like deal with that and accept that that's a thing, because fuck you. Yeah, no, I think that we've spent about an hour and a half on making this animation, I think, right? And about an hour on touching up the other animations and whatever. So let's bring this shit into the actual gameplay level. And when we go to the gameplay level, we can actually feel this in gameplay context as well. And I can use my controller so that I don't have to grip my mouse again. Because my controller works now in Unreal Engine. Yay! Let's... I guess we can use this one. So, switch weapons. It does feel like it's easier to hit multiple enemies with it. Also, the behavior trace should stop when these fuckers die, but whatever. It doesn't really feel... like this one we probably like should just do with the sword, right? It doesn't really feel as good, especially the final attack feels like it's a little iffy because it doesn't like target. That's the thing that I just need to fix in my code, honestly. Well, that could also just like be the downside to this weapon, because it does deal a metric fuck ton of damage. Wait, when I get hit during an ability... Okay, hold on. What? When I get hit during an attack, it doesn't re-enable my inputs. But why did I do it like this? Because now we should probably just like put... I think this fixes it. Maybe. Hopefully. So yeah, it doesn't quite still feel as satisfying as ideally I would like to hit things with the scythe. So there's some room for improvement there. Specifically, like that last attack really feels like it needs to. I think part of what might be able to increase that would be the setting the freeze rate to something lower. Don't I have like a camera impact thing? Apparently not. Okay, something to look into, I guess. What does it feel like when the freeze rate is set to lower? I think that does feel a little bit more impactful. Maybe a little too stuttery still. Kind of on the fence. Please stop doing that. The more I do it, the better it actually feels. But that might be some kind of like confirmation bias. So, I don't know. I think it definitely should home more. Actually, I think it's fine. Like, it definitely, the homing thing we should take care of. Like, at least setting the rotation in the gameplay ability earlier. Because right now I think we set rotation. Yeah, we set the rotation here. And I think what we'll want to do is, this is a mess, man. It's an absolute fucking mess. I think we'll want to do the setting of a rotation beforehand. So let me just take all this shit and move in that direction. And we get this. Now that actually still is relevant. So we just copy it over. Everything related to it. Just gonna copy it over. If there's too much being copied over, I will just get rid of it. Put that over there. So if that's valid, we set the actual rotation first. If not, we move on right away to there. And then if this is valid, we just skip the set actor rotation. We go into root motion immediately. It's kind of scary to be deleting all this stuff. but I think we're fine. One way to find out. That's to play the game again. Okay, so far so good. I think that does what it needs to do now. That said, though, I do actually think that if we go back into this and we go into like the sword attacks, there might be a good argument to be made for like not in the upward, but in like the downward strike here. To add in a like combat pulse thing as well. So that way we can do like 1, 2, 1, 2. It really feels like he's like honing in on them a little bit more in like that split second that he... Yeah, that actually feels a lot better as well. That makes that final attack feel even better. Like, so far the sword feels miles better than the scythe, and it might always, because the sword just kind of like feels really good at this point. At least comparative to where it has been for months. We need to fix that guy's AI behavior bug as well. But that's an aside for now. Okay, combat feel is rapidly improving, so that means that we're going to like call it a day for now. I have been live for almost 3 hours again, so it's been a good one though. I've enjoyed the progress we've made. Next week we're going to keep on going on the combat train, and what we're going to do is we're going to, it's probably going to be fairly easy, but we're going to make a simple proximity-based combat system. So what we have right now is a system wherein it just does like the attacks in order, no matter what. What I want to do is I want to, for 2 specific situations, have different attacks happening. And I might expand on that a little bit more later. So for the situations that I want to have other things happen is if the distance between the player and the enemy is greater than a certain amount, I want him to do a special like distance closing move, like a dashing attack move. And if there's multiple enemies around at the start of a combo, I want him to do like a area of effect around him attack. Those are the 2 things that at the moment I want to add. That distance closing move might then also eventually get a variation on it, where he specifically closes the distance and goes upward. Because if it's going to be like a stabbing or a dashing type of move, if you also move up, you probably want a different animation to play there as well, where he like actually slices upward toward that enemy, that kind of stuff. But for now, I do also want to limit the amount of animations that I need to make per weapon, because there's going to be a lot more weapons in the game as well. So if I don't need to implement 1 more animation per weapon, that saves me making like 6 or 7 more animations in total, which would be nice. So for now, we're just going to make the distance closing attack and the clearing enemies around you attack. And we'll leave it at that, and we'll see if we add on top of that anymore in the future. But that's going to be what we do next week, at least on the Tuesday. Let's just see if we finish it on Tuesday. Maybe we'll need to do some more of that on Thursday. Because there's also going to be animation involved in that. And then once that is all done, we won't be animating anything for a while, I don't think. We're going to be focusing on making some like level design and doing some like other programming stuff and whatever. So I will save you guys from having to watch me animate too much. That being said, I actually like remarkably had a lot of fun with the animation today. Like, actually went fairly well. I felt like I, for the most part, was in control, other than like the direction of the weapon. I was just a little bit iffy, but that's just me fucking myself with not being able to control the weapon independent of the hand, which is the exact reason that I didn't model a hand to begin with, to be able to cheat with that. So I probably just need to actually go back and add like an extra bone to the hand and just parent it to that instead of parenting it directly to the hand for future reference. And then we can go back maybe and polish up some of the animations here as well. That's going to give me more control over the trajectory of like the blade of every single one of my weapons in the future as well, which is going to be nice. But yeah, it's been a good one. So we're going to leave it here for today. Thanks everybody for stopping by, hanging out, and having a lot of fun all together. Have a good weekend, and I will see you next week.